What's up? What's up? Let me get the stream link. Can I get it from OBS? I don't think I can get it from OBS. I think I have to get it from like the YouTube channel. Let me see. I've been listening to the new Dayseeker album, bro. I've been listening to that nonstop, man. Also been listening to a lot of Killswitch Engage. That's because a character in Lil Masteel Volume 4 is a reference to Killswitch Engage. So I started listening to it to get myself more like into the idea for the character. So I ended up just listening to everything from Killswitch Engage again. All right, let me pause that. There we go. All right. Let me at everyone streaming volume 5 spoiler talk. Paste. How dare Discord ask me if I'm sure if I want to at everyone? I'm the owner of the server. I'll at whoever I please. Community streams. I can't chat. Streaming right now. Yeah, I really gotta link my Discord with my YouTube, I guess. What's up, Nomad, otherwise known as Catman? What's up, man? Had a really good day at work. Good last day of the work week. We had our Thanksgiving celebration early. So I got some really good food for free. And I took home leftovers. And I'm not guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about it. I mean, this is all the people who brought food are all people who have money. I don't have money, so I get to reap the benefits. Working on a Joe drawing at the moment. I'm assuming you're talking about Jocelyn. Okay. As always, I mean, fan art is always appreciated, so I always appreciate that, whether it's the OC stuff or the Lil Masteel stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about Lil Masteel Volume 5. But I want to start by like doing a recap. I want to do a little bit of a recap of everything that's happened so far, because we're already like halfway through what I would call season 1. This is the halfway point here, and there's been so much as far as character development that like I want to kind of summarize and talk about like why everything has, you know, all the different pieces of the puzzle have moved the way they do, right? So I'm just going to start off with this, and by the time I finish doing the recap, I can talk more about Volume 5. Nomad says it's going to be the last Eeveeverse drawing for this year on my end. Dang! I doubt that. I think you'll end up doing more, but probably because a new artwork will come out and it'll give you an idea to do another fan art or something. Because I'll have like the same thing where I'm like, okay, this is my last Teen Titans fan art for a while, and then something will pop up and I'm like, you know what, inspiration, I'm gonna draw another Raven fan art. I need to do more fan art stuff. My problem is that like I cannot commit to a series of fan arts, because I had totally planned to do like 5 fan arts from Wednesday crossover with X-Men. Like I was doing that. I did that with Wednesday, and I did that with Enid. I was gonna do it with Agnes and Tyler, and I think Brianka as well. I was gonna do it with like a bunch of characters. Pugsley as well. I was gonna do him, But what ended up happening was like I just every time I started to draw that, I'm like I could do fan art or I could work on the comic, and the comic guilt tripping always ends up getting me in the end. It always ends up winning. It always pushes me to draw more for that because that's more productive, that's more long lasting than doing just a fan art or something. I need at the same time I need to do fan art because jumping on trends as far as art goes is important to get eyes on your stuff, which gets eyes on the comic. So like it's a necessary thing for me to do, but oftentimes I'll end up like getting demotivated to do it because I want to work on the comic more. Uh, but anyway, so just to do a recap, I'm gonna take you through the whole story of Little Miss Steele from the beginning to the end, and just sort of in a rough, quick way, kind of explain where everyone is at. One more message from Nomad. I meant of this year. There's still going to be plenty in 2026. Oh yeah. I got what you mean. It's also going to be a crossover story where Stella and Sekai visit my lead OC in a mental institution. Jesus. All right. That sounds wild. That's gonna be interesting. Um, but yeah. Anyway, I'll go ahead and get started with this. So you've read the first one, so you're cool to stick around for the first one. But if you're planning on reading the others, and I recommend you do, I guess pause the stream or come back later or whatever, because I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be talking about the whole story. Spoilers! I put it in the title of the stream, so if you don't want to get spoiled on it, whatever. So Volume 1, and this is the remastered version. This is where I've tuned up the artwork a little bit in some places. It basically, and this cover is awesome, by the way. This is a commissioned artwork I got from, what's his name? I can't remember. Kim Kai Drawings. Instagram, Twitter, DeviantArt, like the guy's all over the place. I think he's from Brazil. Anyway, really talented artist, does a lot of fan arts, really, really good stuff. Did fantastic job with Little Miss Steele. But yeah, the first volume basically is setting up everything, right? It's setting up everything with the story. The inciting incident is Death Metal luring Miss Steele into a seemingly normal thing where you're just, helping a car that's been turned over on the side of the road, right? He lures her into that and then causes her to basically like takes her into the sky, blasts her down with a Titanite cannon, and then captures her, takes her away. V initially thinks she's dead because that's what the AI voice says. Iris, she says her heart is stopped. Well, Death Metal brings her back. He resuscitates her and is now basically got her in his lab. From that moment onward, you get to find out his motives and everything. The main reason for it is so he can electrocute her blood, which goes from this blue color to a red crystal, which powers his suit. And who else knows whatever he's planning to power up with it? It hasn't been revealed. But the idea is basically he's siphoning her for blood. Now, the only reason that Little Miss Steele knows that Miss Steele is alive is because of the heart link, which is something that's mentioned in the newspaper clippings, the full clippings. If you read the novel, you know about this. But if you read the, early on, it mentions it talks about that in the comic version as well. But the idea is basically that Little Miss Steele is working on the hope that she can save her mother, and from there, people dive. The different characters divulge into their different story arcs. But the inciting instant is this first comic whenever Death Metal shoots down her mother from the sky. Up until this point, and the main thing to stress with V and her whole development, her whole from point A to point B, is that V is, at first, in this first comic, she just is kind of a selfish person. She's a selfish person. She doesn't want to use her powers to help other people. She has no interest in doing that despite having the powers. The Global Comics short promotional video that they put out on TikTok, Instagram, and all that, it it said that her powers awaken in this first volume. That is not the case at all. That was a little bit of an oversight from the people who made that trailer, that little commercial, little shout out, I guess. Her powers do not awaken in this volume. She's always had her powers. In fact, on page 3, she's shown using her powers here. And this is an example of her using her powers selfishly. Not in a selfish way like, villains tend to use their powers where like it benefits them but it hurts other people. Her using her powers in this volume does not hurt anyone. It doesn't bring any harm or anything negative to anyone else. It only just benefits herself. And the point of this, it's her holding onto the bar to make sure she doesn't hop out of the seat in the bus whenever it hits a pothole. Amy goes flying and hits her head, but V's holding herself down because she's using her steel strength. Whenever she's mad at her dad and whenever they're having their argument in the house, she uses her steel strength to kick the door down. Whenever she's riding down the hill and ends up not looking ahead of her because she's crying and trying to wipe the tears from her eyes, she accidentally runs into the murder machine van, and instead of taking a hit to the head, she steals up her head, and I guess if anything, it negatively affects Chester because he has to pay the bill to to get the dent out, but and to get the door fixed. But the idea is that her using her powers up until this point is simply to benefit herself, just to do minor little things like that that other people might struggle with in some ways, right? And that kind of summarizes who she is as a person at this point. She's not a bad person. She's not a greedy person or anything like that. But she is a selfish person at the end of the day. And her father is calling that out, but her father, Night Vision, is also wrong to force the life of a hero onto her. It's something that she has to come up to on her own. But the more he pushes, the more she wants to push away because she's hard-headed. It's something that's a reoccurring thing, is to call her hard-headed. And in this first volume, basically, it's introducing all of the band and everything like that. Then, of course, this inciting incident here that causes V to lock in and start using her powers for other than just mild conveniences. Now she's actually using it to fight back, and so she's fighting death metal here. She's getting some hits in and all that. But then, of course, death metal is Hisu's built to defeat the Miss Steel. Of course, he's going to be able to defeat Little Miss Steel, and so all of this action here takes place. There's some notes here. There's some lore being built up during this fight as well, and the fight ends up going this way, where he basically is testing her, like, hey, if you're half as durable as your mother, you'll survive this. If you're not, I guess you're dead. So basically, she survives. She gets blasted through a couple of things, but she ends up surviving, crash landing into the backyard of her house, and being woken up by Cutie, the Boston Terrier Chihuahua, otherwise known as a Chibo. Calling her dad. Her dad finds out, and the reason why he knows is because the heart link was severed, so he believes that Miss Steel is dead. And from this point on, that's where their characters kind of separate a little bit, is that V's operating with the idea that she could save her mother. Night Vision is operating with the acceptance that Tatiana is dead. And now he's fighting with full-on revenge mode, right? V is also fighting for revenge, but a little bit more hopeful than Night Vision's is. And so from there, we go to Volume 2, right? Now, Volume 2, this is the last page. What the heck? Can I click the page? I can't do that. Okay, I'm just going to have to click all the way. I'm sorry. Epilepsy warning, I guess. I should have just clicked. Yeah, that would have been much better. So the next volume is her fighting Stonehold, and the important thing here for V's development is that she's not a hero yet. Just because she is fighting the villain does not make her a hero yet. And you have this moment where she's practicing, she's wearing the suit, she's putting on the mask, she's practicing with the gadgets and stuff like that. But she's not heroic yet. What ends up happening is they get a alert about a bank robbery taking place, essentially, and V is like, guess that's my job. She's not saying I have to save those people. She's saying I get to punch bad guys. And punch bad guys is exactly what she does. Now, Amy's grandfather is one of the tellers here at this bank. And she ends up saving him, of course. But here at this moment, whenever Stonehold's raising his fist to punch down and crush this old man here, the question is, you got to ask yourself: Is V doing this because she wants to help people, or is she doing this because she wants to see if she can catch this giant rock monster's fist while he's throwing it down? And it's a little bit of both. Obviously, V is not like a heartless person. If she sees this old man about to get punched, she's intervening. She's not cold-hearted or anything. But she's definitely not like going into this thinking, how can I save as many people as possible? She's going into this situation thinking, how do I get better at punching the bad guy? Because the whole reason she's even doing this is because she can get better at fighting, so she can fight and defeat Death Metal and rescue her mother. It's still a selfish thinking that's pushing her forward through this. And of course she runs in here without ever having a plan, so of course Stonehold, being the rock mud monster that he is able to overwhelm her, and he ends up running away. V ends up also running away, coming back here. And notice the thing that V says. There's this little scene with LeJohn looking at the villain database. But there's this moment here where V comes back, and you would think V should be talking about, I just saved people. I saved Amy's grandfather, or I stopped a bank robbery. No, it's Stonehold. Look him up now because she wants to fight him again. She wants to get a rematch, and that again goes to show that V at her core right now is still a selfish person. Again, not a person who's like taking advantage of people because it benefits her. Not that kind of thing. But the type of selfishness that basically sort of just says that just because I'm doing the right thing doesn't mean I'm doing it for the right reason. Is sort of how she is right now. And what you get here is a little bit of a rematch. Of course, the Mighty Five, other two members are introduced. There's still one member that's not accounted for. Of course, Miss Steel was one of the others. But there's still one that hasn't been shown yet, and I'm excited for you guys to meet that character. But this Tyler Anno drawing, by the way, way improved in Volume 5. Way improved in Volume 5. Just wait till you get to Volume 5. I'm gonna go back and redo this as well, because I think I might remaster Volume 2 entirely at some point. Not immediately. I'm still I'm gonna focus on Volume 6 moving forward. But I'm definitely going to go back at some point and remaster Volume 2 as well. I think I might just do that for all of them as I keep going. Like Resident Evil is still making, they're making Resident Evil 9. But they're also going to be remaking Resident Evil 5, I'm sure, soon enough. That kind of mentality, I think, is kind of good. Because it's good to go back and look at things. And maybe even touch up some dialogue and stuff like that as well. Not just the art, but the dialogue. Anyway. Keep in mind this page for later. This is going to be important right here. This is going to be important. You've got later on in this comic, this rematch here, and V goes into this with a little bit of a better mindset, right? She goes into this with a plan instead of just running in here, punching and hoping it works out. She's got a plan this time. But what she doesn't realize is that the plan that she's put together, the stuff that she's going in with, the gadgets and the strategy of how to use them and everything, is stuff that her dad already did years ago. And unintentionally, she is following in the same footsteps as her father without even recognizing it, without even really noticing. And Stonehold, being a villain that's been around for a little while, has already dealt with this stuff. So even though she comes in with a plan and she's got the idea, he still is able to defeat her here because he simply just knows how these gadgets work. He knows how night vision works with these gadgets and everything. So he's going to be able to to actually deal with her easier than she was hoping he would be able to. And at this point, we get Night Vision saving her. There's this conversation. They're still at odds with each other. Night Vision is still at this point because he feels like he's lost Miss Steel. He's very much in the kind of defense mode, like, hey, I don't want to lose you either. Go home. I'll handle this. You're just going to slow me down. I don't have time to train you. And she's like, I'm not going anywhere. But because, again, she's very hard-headed, she's like, you're going to have to either fight me or just let me go because I'm not doing anything. So his compromise, essentially, is dropping her some frostbangs, which are these flashbangs that freeze, which is why Stonehold's head is in ice, and a radio for her to call him in case of an emergency. So, with all that being said, that leads us to volume. I've already talked about Raymond's motivation and plot with the crystals and stuff. This artwork was done by Sixus. I always mention every time it comes up on screen, this artwork was done by Sixus. Great artist. Really captured the 80s art style in these drawings that I had him do. Great job as always. But we go to this. Yeah, this is still volume 2. Volume 3? Yes, thank you. It started over. Volume 3 is a little bit of a departure from the main plot. It's a little bit of a side, I guess not a filler episode, but it's just a little bit of a detour, right? So you've got the band, they're playing a show. Of course, I had to focus on the band aspect of the comic because that's what the main characters are. They are a band. So this episode mostly kind of focuses on the other characters, but there is, again, that theme of V. Why is she doing this? She's going to a music store. She's fighting bad guys. She's doing it to put them in prison, and also continue to get better at fighting herself. And again, the motivations are still, at the end of the day, selfish. But in this case, there's no one really to save anyway, so it wouldn't really make much of a difference in this scene how it would play out if she was a more selfless character or not. It doesn't really change much as far as that goes. But going through here, I'm trying to find notes as far as character development goes. Amy gets a spotlight. Amy's whole arc in this is insecurity, the feeling that she's not enough, that she's holding the band back, that she'll forever be part of just a small town band and nothing more. And then by the end of it, she kind of wakes up and realizes. I forgot how funny this page is. She wakes up by the end of it. She wakes up and realizes that, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm fine with being a small town band. And it takes her nearly killing Chester to get this, but it's Chester's insistence that she's still in there that causes her to even snap out of it for a moment to begin with. And is this moment where she decides to break the guitar. She decides to smash the guitar, and this ends up stopping her and Smile from being possessed, and sends Saul back to hell. And then they get to sing their song or whatever. End note here is Raymond saying that he needs to test Little Miss Steel to see if she can develop more of her powers. Why is that the case? We find out a little bit later on. But the idea is that if she can become more titanium than human, perhaps he can have two missteals to siphon the blood out of, right? And then Volume 4. Volume 4 is very important for the Volume 5 breakdown because it sets up everything that happens in Volume 5. So you got this guy Armstrong, who's another robotics and weapons dealer. He's a rival to Raymond Clank. He ends up getting kidnapped outside of his mansion. This drawing took way too long to make. For it to just be a one-time thing, I spent way too much time on it. I do kind of regret how much time I spent. But anyway, we get to see LeJohn using his tech brain genius to good use, where he's got this device working now, and it's linked to the base PC. So he shows his evidence of who could potentially be Death Metal, who could be behind the metal mask, and to his eyes, that would make sense to be Raymond Clank, because he's a billionaire. He's got the funds for it. He's got the mechanical knowledge of how to do it. He's got the history of being in robotics. It would make sense. V even mentioned, of course, they all saw the arm detach from Death Metal and fly at her, and it just so happens that Raymond Clank also is missing a left hand, or left arm, I should say. So the puzzles kind of fit together, and they do this. By the way, that is why Armstrong was created, because I needed a character that could be a red herring, that would also not have a left arm. In this case, Armstrong just doesn't have any arms, but which is ironic, given his name. But that's the idea. That's the idea of why he was created in the first place. I have more plans for Armstrong as a character in the future, but for the purposes of this volume, that's why I needed him, right? And then we move on. They devise a plan to sneak into Raymond Clank's skyscraper, which is they're gonna do some just some research, figure out who this guy is. Does he possess the motive? Does he possess the means to do everything that he's doing here? And of course, we, the audience, the viewer, we know that Raymond Clank is Death Metal, but the characters don't. And what ends up happening is, as they're going on this tour, Chester being funny again, as they're going on this tour, what ends up happening is Raymond ends up pulling a full 360 and causing V to kind of lose it. And not just, at first she's angry because she's convinced that it's him. She's convinced that this is Death Metal and that she's going to kill him for kidnapping his mom. This is where the revenge starts in. This is where she becomes a little bit more like her dad than she already is. And she's furious. She's yelling at him and everything. He makes the twist reveal that he is power metal, which is enough to satisfy Chester here. But what satisfies the other characters, and eventually V herself, is whenever he's talking about how his own experience with grief, losing his mother in 9/11, which is that's the New York skyline with the Twin Towers. I didn't want to outright say it was 9/11, but I wanted to present it as that visually. Because of this, she basically begins to doubt herself. She begins to doubt that what she's been feeling is real. Well, she's having a crisis of faith, essentially. And it's this moment that causes her to just completely lose it and just go full on, I'm just going to punch everything. I'm just going to start punching everything. And all of this is solidified in her mind, that not only am I mad that my mom is dead, that I was wrong about that, I'm also mad that I was wrong about who Death Metal is, because Raymond can't be Death Metal if Death Metal is flying outside the window and blowing it up right now. And this sets her off. This whole rest of the comic is just a long fight scene going through multiple floors of the building. And this is one of the most ambitious fights I've drawn. It's a multi-layered fight. There's multiple segments of it and everything. Even though it is just two people just fighting each other, there's multiple different areas. So the first stage of the fight, lab. Second stage of the fight, they're in this factory floor, which was shown earlier in the tour part. Also, Creed reference. There's like 3 song titles in this. um, and yeah, so you got this little back and forth here where she's using her gadgets, she's using her knowledge and her experiences she's gotten so far. She's using this to fight death metal, and she's doing it pretty well. And then you got the third section, which takes place in the sky outside. Then the fourth segment, which takes place in this room real quick. And then the fifth segment, which is the final area where they land on the bottom floor of the factory. There's dust and smoke all over the place. When she's going under, she's going in and out of consciousness a little bit. She hits the car. The Red Chevelle, also a reference to a song and band. She remembers this time where her mother was showing her light beams and to try and get her to learn it. Now, of course, little Miss Teal, can't quite figure this out because she's just a little kid and she's not exactly practiced with her abilities. But teenage V, who's been trying her hardest to become better at using her powers, is ready to do this. And you've got this moment where death metal is taunting her now, giving her all the more incentive to do this. And finally, she is able to unleash the light beam, clash with the Titanite cannon, and eventually, for the sake of her friends, overpower it, defeat death metal. Armstrong gets blown out the building, wakes up, takes the helmet off, snaps some cords attached to the back of his neck, and then just electrocutes himself. And at the end of this comic, the question is, from Volume 4, was this fight real? How much of it was staged, and how much of it was genuine? Did V actually win this fight? And if so, how? And that is where Volume 5 kicks in. So now we're entering Volume 5 here. By the way, there was a moment where I was kind of like debating, should I put the kind of smear effect I've got across all the comic covers? Should I put that on the hand and the water splashing out as well? I did that. I didn't really like how it looked. It just sort of blended in with the background. This makes it pop a lot more. By having it not be part of the smear effect, having the hand and the water splash stand out, I think it actually looks better. But you get the lightning and stuff. Like, it looks. I'm happy with this cover. Okay. I'm happy with all the covers, but this one I really think is good. And right off the bat, you're dropped into the water here, and I'm sure some people reading this were like, "What? How did this happen? How did she end up in the middle of the ocean in like a white void? What's going on?" And of course, immediately it's revealed that this is inside of her head. This is the spoiler for Volume 5. In case you haven't read it, go read it right now. Look up. You know what? I'll do you better. Check this out. There it is, right there. The point of this comic, the point of this volume taking place in an ocean is it's a metaphor for grief. It's a metaphor for drowning in the negative emotions that come along with grief, the anger, the sorrow, the guilt, and you know the fear that you'll never, have that closure with that person ever again. Everyone's gone through it to certain levels, and not all of it is from death. Some of it is from mistakes, opportunities that we'll never have again because we goofed or someone else goofed on our behalf. And all of this is to say that V right now is drowning, and it's represented by the water. But in real life, she's taking internal damage. Her lungs, she's not being able to get air through to her lungs. And what's going to end up happening is Tyler Anno has to do surgery. Well, there's just one problem. Tyler Anno doesn't have the tools to actually break through her steel skin. Her skin is hardened around her chest and back because it's like a automatic response to trauma. She's in a critical state, so her body's like, oh, I need to defend it. I'm going to defend my organs. I'm going to harden up just right here and protect myself. That's her body right now. And Tyler can't cut through it precisely. And even if he could, his hands are too big. He can't use his scalpel, and he needs someone else. And Lady Lake is basically saying, we know someone who could do it. And Eduardo, Night Vision, always being the, the person who's the most skeptical, I guess, or not skeptical, but most suspicious, I guess, is like, no, we're not going to trust Raymond. I have bad beef with Raymond in the past. We're not going to trust on him. And at this point, there's not really any other option. So he's going to have to be forced to do it. And while he's giving in to that, swallowing his pride and asking for help, Lady Lake is doing whatever she can to help Little Miss Steele. And it's at this point where it becomes crystal clear at this point why V is in the water. It's a representation of her mind. And then we get to the page where Raymond basically like answers all the questions. The whole fight was essentially staged. The entire time it was meant to lure everyone's suspicion away from him and bring it over to Armstrong. It also put Armstrong in a coma, so he can't even answer questions about anything. He was in the suit. He was defeated by Little Miss Steele, and the day is saved. It seems like everything is good. The only thing missing is Miss Steele's body. And from there, that's basically the only unanswered question that the law enforcement agencies really, or the Mighty Five really have to ask. And to him, he's gotten away with it. No one really suspects a thing as far as he goes. But death metal is, to the public, death metal is done. Death metal is no more. When in reality, he orchestrated the entire thing, including the fact that the suit wasn't even piloted by Armstrong. It was piloted by Iris and his AI assistant. The whole time, she was basically just puppeting Armstrong like a meat bag. Like a meat puppet in the suit, and he was just along for the ride and wasn't woken up until the moment he was scripted to be defeated. And at that point, not only did Raymond get everything he really wanted out of Armstrong and all the suspicion off of him, not only did he do that, but he also confirmed his suspicions that if Little Miss Steele is pushed to the limit, she will develop more of her powers, or at least show more of the power that she's always had all along. Meaning that she could potentially become more Titanian and less human. And so because of this, he's like, you know what? Maybe it's worth saving her. Maybe it's worth keeping her alive. So he's going to put on the power metal suit and attempt to save her life through surgery. Meanwhile, this entire time, while he's getting ready to come over and while he's about to do the surgery, Lady Lake is inside. Now, Lady Lake, her backstory, which has not really been elaborated in the comic, but it has been elaborated in the character bios for both the website and for the Discord page. Lady Lake was a girl who ended up being murdered by her crush at the time, her teen crush at the time, while they were off on like this lake camping trip thing. And her soul, or her body vanished, and her soul inhabited the water. And from there, she basically became this sentient water. Now, at some point in between that point and between when the Mighty Five was founded in the early days before or after the Mighty Five, basically Tyler Anno helped develop this tiara with the help of Raymond Clank. I'm going to go ahead and drop that knowledge. That's never been done before. Raymond Clank, as Power Metal, and Tyler Anno developed this crown to basically detect her brainwaves and allow her to control the water. Essentially, that's the reason for it. That's why she wears the crown. That's why she's able to control herself. Otherwise, she's just been chilling in this puddle of water for a little bit. And now, since then, the last 20 years, she's been Lady Lake. And what happens is her body physically is not on the earth. It's in this sort of mental realm, this sort of space that she can enter with people's minds. Her physical body is represented here, and she hasn't had access to it, so she's very skinny. Her hair is very long. At this point, she's getting kind of older too, and she's she really wants to become human again. but she doesn't know how or if that's even possible. But you got this little bit of a tragic sense to this character where it gives a little bit of depth to her, hinting at a little bit more to what's behind the scenes with her character. And what we got is this little moment where she's Aunt Crystal. That's her, she's always been called Aunt Crystal by V, and she's trying to save her. Finds her, tries helping her out, but she can't swim out. She can't stay above water for too long. The grief is just too much. It keeps pulling her under. And to represent the dire situations, the dramatic near-death experience that V is experiencing, a huge tidal wave comes up. At this point, Power Metal arrives. He's talking about how he can do the surgery and everything. Like, his suit is equipped to be able to do everything he needs to do to actually soften her skin, her metal skin, with heat, and then cut through and allow Tyler Ano to do the surgery. Of course, Tyler Ano still says, my hands are still too big, so it's going to have to be Eduardo to do it. Eduardo is going to have to perform surgery on his daughter to save her life. And this was going to be a disaster. No matter which way you look at this, the odds of Little Miss Steel surviving this surgery were very, very slim. And fortunately for her, it did not come to this because of the efforts of Lady Lake. So, Lady Lake comes in here. Of course, she's got control of water. And if the mind is a storming sea, surely she can stop it from consuming V for at least a little while. And in this little moment, V, to represent the helplessness she feels, the weakness she feels, she's reverted back to her child self. She's crying. She doesn't know what she can do. She doesn't know if there's a point to do anything because she's failed. She's failed to save her mom. She's dead. Everything she fought for was for nothing. Even if she brought the killer to justice, at least what she thinks. Even if she's done that, what was it for? Revenge didn't bring her anything. It didn't bring her any closure. It didn't make her feel good. It only caused the guy who did it, in her mind, to be stopped, but it didn't bring her back. It didn't make her feel vindicated or anything. It was an emptiness that caused this, and the reason why she's not healing is because she doesn't have a will to live. But Lady Lake reminds her of something. It reminds her that being half Titanian, half of her mother, literally her DNA, is in V. And this last ditch effort, this last attempt at getting her to try and feel her mother's touch, whether that be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever, this last ditch effort allows V to feel her mother's heart link again. And this is enough to snap her out just in time to snap her out of it and to get her out of the waters and back into the land of the living. Of course, Tyler Ano is very happy about this. I really enjoyed drawing this page, by the way. I love the contrast between the angry punching the computer screen, how everything about him, every angle on him is sharp, and then there's this, which is just entirely just soft, soft edges, all that. I just thought it'd be really funny to do that little bit of a contrast there. But yeah, we do see a little bit of Power Metal's alternative motives. This syringe of purple blood. Now, I don't outright say it's blood. I kind of let viewers figure it out. But for the readers who might be confused on this, I'll answer. Miss Steele's blood is blue because she's Titanian. Human blood is red because we're human. V is half human, half Titanian, so her blood is purple. This syringe here is a syringe of her blood. It's a sample of her blood that he managed to sneak in the chaos of V waking up. He managed to sneakily grab that and get out of there, without anyone really noticing. So, with that being said, another funny Chester moment. We get this confrontation here, and I'm not going to reveal what the argument was that caused these two to split, that caused Power Metal to leave the Mighty Five, and for Eduardo to hold this grudge for such a long time. I'm not going to reveal that. But what this is kind of hinting at it had to do something to do with Tatiana. It had something to do with her joining the Mighty Five or something. And while I'm not revealing anything in a particular, I'm trying really hard not to do that. I want to, but I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna play the long game. You're gonna have to wait and see. The idea is that these two perhaps could have still been friends. These two perhaps still could have been level-headed with each other. Something happened that caused both of them to be hard-headed, to refuse to give an inch, and to the other in a compromise or something, whether they believed it was worth fighting for or not. They both believed it was, whether it was or not is what I meant to say. And whenever Eduardo gives genuine gratitude for this, Power Metal just doesn't really say anything. Raymond doesn't really say anything. He doesn't have anything to say, because if Eduardo knew what Raymond is doing with Miss Steele, this sentiment of gratitude would not be here at all. So instead of saying de nada in response to Gracias, instead of that, he just silently flies away. Another funny Chester moment. You get this little wholesome moment here, and this is a big moment. This next page is a big moment. This I was really happy working on this page, because it really shows how far the dynamic between V and Eduardo has changed. From the beginning, they can't stand each other. They're arguing. They're shouting at each other constantly. In Volume 2, they're starting to become a little more agreeable. Night Vision is starting to relent and start to, give into the idea that she's going to do her own thing, whether he wants her to or not. And he's starting to back off on that, starting to let her do her thing. And then he, at this point, is now working with her to solve what is actually going on. So V, upon waking up, has this realization that I should not have lived that. I should not have won that fight, much less lived that fight. If that suit was strong enough to kill Miss Steele, or at least immobilize her. And Night Vision, still assuming that Tatiana is dead, has this idea that there's no way, if it killed her, that V should have been able to defeat it. So they both come to this situation. Night Vision has some backstory on Armstrong as a character. Remember, there was this thing in Volume 2. Let me go back with this real quick. What the heck? What the heck? Okay, let me go back to Volume 2. Epilepsy warning, I'm sorry. Back to this page here. Armstrong was even listed here. So he has to be some sort of criminal. He has to have some kind of criminal record if he's in their database. So clearly something he's done in the past wasn't exactly legal. And as far as business goes. And because of this, he already has him as his radar, right? He knows who Armstrong is. He knows he's a competitor to Raymond Clank. And because of that, he sees the dots. He connects the dots. Whenever V wakes up and starts talking with him about this, he connects those dots. And basically they come to the conclusion that it has to be Raymond. It has to be him setting this up. Somehow or another, they don't know exactly how he did it. They don't have the proof of it, of that he did it. But they know it's got to be him, because it can't be Armstrong. And it just wouldn't make sense in multiple different ways. And I'm sure some of you probably figured that out. Some of you reading Volume 4 were like, I don't know if this really makes sense. And it's because it doesn't. And that's the point of this little plot here. So, yeah, Raymond does his thing. Raymond's all smug. He thinks he's got it. He thinks he's figured it out. That they're fooled and everything. He doesn't think they suspect him at all at this point. And if they do, it doesn't matter, because they can't prove it. So, this little moment here where V asks, how do you not drown in grief? Night Vision simply says, "Stay out of the water." The ironic part is that it's raining. He's literally in water right now. It's inevitable that you're going to have to face those feelings of grief. You're going to have to come to terms with the loss of your wife, dude. But he's refusing to do that. Right now, he's focusing on revenge. He's focusing on punching the problem, similar to how V is. But after this experience, after what V has gone through, and felt that it didn't do anything for her, now V is on a different path. V has learned a lesson here that Night Vision has not learned yet. Will he learn that lesson? Will he not? Well, you'll have to stick around to find out. Will he learn it the same way, potentially? You'll have to stick around to find out. But the idea is that V, after this point on, is a changed person. She is not the same person she started off as. She hasn't really grown as far as a person from volume 1 to 4. She's still the same mindset. I'm still going to do what I want. I'm still going to do this because selfishly, I want this guy beaten up. I want this guy thrown in prison. I want to kill this guy. And that's basically her mindset. Now, things are different. Things are going to be different for her from now on. And it's going to be a different V going forward here, a different little Miss Steel going forward. Not entirely different, but she has been changed from this experience. Funny Chester moment. And this little sweet moment here where, you know, she's just as happy to be part of this band with her friends as she is to be part of a family of superheroes. At this point, she's starting to accept her lineage a little bit more, be a little more happy and proud with that than just outright rejecting it. And then we move on to the Killswitch Engage reference. Someone's had to have figured this out without anyone telling them. Someone's had to have figured this out. I bet someone has figured it out. If you have, I want you to comment either on here or on the VOD or on the actual Global Comics page. Please comment it because I'm curious if people got if more than just one person got this, because I know one person did, because they were messaging me about it. But the reference here is Killswitch Engage. There's All in Due Time, song by them. Daylight Dies, album name by them, and song name by them as well. So, and plus this is, you know, Director Jones, Howard Jones. All resemblance of characters, by the way, is completely coincidental. There's nothing legally binding by anything. It's all just coincidence. The suit ends up going into self-destruct mode after they pry Armstrong out of it, and what ends up happening is Night Vision wasn't inspecting the suit because, you know, V was in critical condition, so he didn't even have time to do this. But the thing you gotta look at here is the timing. It's a little too sweet, right? It's a little too sweet, right? It's almost as if Raymond had a remote detonator that he could just cause this thing to blow up whenever it was most convenient for him. It's almost as if that's the case. So just as the suit's about to blow up, Power Metal flies down and grabs the suit, flies off. He stares a little. He has a little like second-long staring contest with Night Vision here, where Eduardo realizes what he's done, how big this plan really was, and how effective it was in getting suspicion off of himself. And what comes next might be a surprise to some. It wasn't a surprise to J. Art, which is a friend of mine who is one of my number one fans when it comes to actually test reading stuff. She's a big help in doing some test reading and showing some art and asking for, you know, her opinion on if something looks goofy or not. Ends up happening here. Was not a surprise to some people. Power Metal reveals himself to be Raymond Clank. And yes, there are some parallels to this in Iron Man, obviously a character who Raymond Clank is very much based off of. The parallel being that at the end of Iron Man 1, he stands before a crowd of people and says, "I am Iron Man." Here he doesn't say anything, but he takes off the helmet and basically reveals to himself, to the world, that he is Raymond Clank. And this is this is a big departure from the novel. Let me tell you that right now, because the novel did not have this at all. The novel did not have any of this. Volume 5, entirely new content. Never been written, never been shown before. All of this brand new. So for those who read the novel and are checking out the comic as it comes out as well, I hope you really enjoyed the surprise, because this was one of the most fun things I worked on as far as the comic adaptation. It's very different, and I like it for being different. I like how different it is. But what I'm able to do with this story now, because of the changes I've done here, is so fun. There's so much fun stuff to come. But as V says, they know that he's the bad guy. They know that he is actually death metal and has orchestrated this entire thing. But the whole rest of the world, they think he's a hero. They have no reason to suspect him now, because Armstrong has been thrown under the bus. So basically, he's now an unretired superhero, and his business gets to reap the rewards of that as well. He gets paid the insurance claim for the destruction of his property by Armstrong. All of this ends up just perfectly working out for him, to where he benefits every single way. And this goes to the kind of how he's a foil to Lil Masteel, right? At this point, Raymond Clank is a very selfish character. He does everything to benefit himself, to the point of hurting other people, hurting Miss Steele, hurting Little Miss Steele, endangering the lives of everyone in a skyscraper for this whole entire attack that he orchestrated from Armstrong. Of course, Armstrong was also harmed in this whole ordeal. He has gone from in the past maybe being a hero for the wrong reason, just to prove his technology is superior, just to prove that he can do it. He's gone from being what V is, what was at the beginning of this story, to being the villain he is now, currently in the story. And V is seeing this and is doing the opposite. She is having this opportunity to say the same things, to go through the same motivations and everything, but she is choosing to be better. And that's where the characters divulge. This is where the characters kind of have this foil, and a foil is basically where a villain embodies the opposite aspects of the hero that challenges both of them. And that's probably not a good definition of it, but that's just off the top of my head. So lastly, we get these 2 pages, which was bonus pages because I finished this early. I decided to throw in some bonus pages here, which is in this prison area, which I did not name yet, but it's called Arizona Alcatraz. Arizona's Alcatraz. And we get introduced to the Cajun in the Cage, Madame Yvette. I'm very excited to show you more of this character. In fact, if I go back to volume 2, epilepsy warning. If I go back to volume 2, what do you know? Look at that. That character looks familiar, doesn't it? That character looks familiar, huh? So yeah, there's been some build up to this. There's been some hints at this coming. This isn't just coming out of nowhere. This is stuff that I set up way back in volume 2. So if you're interested in seeing what she's all about, what's next in the story, what Raymond Clank's next move is, how Little Miss Steele will be moving going forward with this new mindset, stay tuned for Volume 6. It's coming up next year, early next year is whenever it's going to release. I'm going to say end of February. I'm going to try and shoot for that. I'm going to do my best to reach for that. If I fully commit to that, and I say that I'm going to release at the end of February, and I don't release at the end of February, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to it. I intend to hit that goal, but if I don't, hold me accountable to it. I've stuck to every goal I've made. I've hit every goal I've made so far, and I plan to keep doing that. Bar any kind of huge emergency or something that prevents me from doing it, I'm going to keep hitting those goals. So I'm going to keep doing it. I want you guys to keep holding me accountable, and I want you guys to keep enjoying the story. But with that being said, let's talk about art stuff. I didn't really go into the art too much last stream because a lot of the artwork is a spoiler. the problems with talking about your comic without wanting to spoil it. The water. I kind of looked at a bunch of different examples of cartoon water, and I finally got to this point where I thought it looked pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it. Last minute, the last like I kid you not, the last week of creating this comic, someone suggested adding a white gradient to show distance in the water, and that makes a huge difference. That made such a huge difference. It looks so much better with that white gradient over top of it. I was amazed at just how that made it so much better looking. Um, the effects in the water as well, like the squiggly lines and everything, worked out pretty good. Um, the dent tool is really nice. The dent tool in the Paint.net, it takes like something that's straight and just kind of squiggles it around and stuff. Very useful for stuff like this, for trying to make patterns and stuff like that, and not just like the white lines on the surface, but also the black lines below the surface as well. It's the same smear effect I use on like buildings and almost everything, every part of the background. I use that smear effect, but by using the dent tool, I'm able to warp it and make it look like even more depth to the water, right? And the end product I think looks really really good. I'm really happy with it. Tyler went through a couple of changes. Notably, I added more muscle detail to him upon getting some critiques from Twitter. Very helpful critiques from the one guy who was commenting. I really appreciate his involvement, his input, even if he was a little rude about it. I appreciate the critiques. It's Twitter. What can you do? The but yeah, the design for Tyler Rano, I really wanted to improve from Volume 2 because I really didn't feel happy with how I drew him in Volume 2. But here I feel really great about it. He looks great. He looks like a cartoon character. Obviously you would say, well, wouldn't he have like a scale pattern to him or whatever? But if you look at cartoons, from like the 2000s and 90s, your scale characters don't really have scales unless it's really zoomed into their face and stuff like that. You don't really see much detail as far as skin texture and stuff like that. And again, I'm trying to mimic 2000s cartoons. Now, if I have something that's super zoomed into him, you better believe I'm adding scales. But until then, probably not going to happen. The actual just design of him, I feel like looks pretty good. His head went through a couple of different designs for when I was creating him. But this I think he looks like not quite a T-Rex. He's not 100% head shaped like a T-Rex. But it's there that you can see it. He looks distinct from a crocodile, right? He doesn't look like a crocodile, especially with the red color. He looks like a dinosaur. He looks like a dinosaur or a dragon or something, right? Big inspiration from him as far as design goes, Devil Dinosaur. I looked at the recent cartoon for Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and I decided to kind of use that as a good inspiration to him. You can see some similarities, but obviously the characters are very different in who they are, first of all, but also the design. Obviously, the design is very different with Devil Dinosaur just being a T-Rex and Tyler Rano being a man Rex. Not funny. Anyway, Lady Lake as well, her design didn't really change anything from Volume 2 because I feel like her design is pretty good. She's the only character with a colored outline, and I feel like that makes her almost look like ghostly, which I feel like looks pretty cool. The water kind of effects going down her, like always flowing downwards, sort of is the vibe that I wanted to give her entire body, and I feel like that works pretty good. The only still part on her is the dress. So that it's basically like I'm keeping this here because I don't want to show nudity, even though I'm made of water. The fun part of shapeshifters, right, is giving them just a solid form, like their main form that they go to, and that tells a lot about their personality, right? Lady Lake, despite being a shapeshifter, takes on the form of a feminine form because she misses her human body. She misses that. So it tells a lot about the character. I mean, look at Clayface. His default form is this big monster because that's how he sees himself. But great stuff. Great character writing whenever you're looking at shapeshifters like that. But yeah, Night Vision. I mean, there's nothing really nothing unique to this comic about Night Vision's design. Nothing really changed with that. The lab. A lot of this was from Volume 4. I'll be honest. A lot of the backgrounds were recycled from Volume 4. Just because this takes place in the same day, almost the same time of day, in the same area. A lot of stuff was recycled. So I do what I can to try and like be efficient, and recycling is being efficient. Knowing when to and I did this like with the intention, like I had Volume 5 written out before Volume 3 was finished. Like I knew I was going to do this. This was all a strategic plan for me to be able to put out these two comics, 4 and 5, as close to each other as possible because of the cliffhanger ending of Volume 4. I wanted to get Volume 5 out as quickly as possible. And the quickest way to do that is to reuse some assets like that. But this background was brand new. This background was drawn for this volume in particular. Of course, the inside of the Nighthawk as well was drawn for this, and of course the ocean background as well. I really like how the spiral effect worked with this. I added the hands after I did the spiral effect. I added the hands swirling around as well, like reaching in to try and finish her off and drag her under, especially with the hands grabbing her legs under the water here. I feel like it all really worked out. And the other thing too is that the hands and arms of Lady Lake, I wanted to really make them look bony and weird because she's so malnourished, she's so skinny. Her face is really bony and sunken in and stuff like that. So like, of course, her hands would also be like that. So like her wrists are really protruding to compare to the rest of her body, the rest of her forearm, right? So that's I really wanted to get that across, and I think I did that with this very effectively. But yeah, as far as that goes, there's not a whole lot here. Oof! I goofed. He's supposed to have the rust here. I gotta fix that crap. I goofed here too, but I fixed this already. I don't know why this didn't change. I uploaded this like days ago, but for some reason that didn't save it. Okay. But yeah, see, he's got the rust here. I don't know why I didn't. I can't believe I forgot to put that on there. Anyway, not really anything else noteworthy about art. I'm looking at stuff. Oh, this scene, specifically, like the if you look at the backgrounds during the scene for the sky, and even the color temperature. At this point, the color temperature, the sky becomes less orange and more purple, and the color temperature, the tone of the image begins to turn from orange to purple. Slowly but surely, as the pages go on, it becomes less orange and more purple, until finally we're full on in the rain. Now everything is super purple, right? And not only is it getting purple, but it's also getting darker because we're going from evening to night. And this scene too, with this background, because this background was also unique for this little street corner here. I'm probably going to use that street corner in future stuff as well because it's just convenient. The background here with the puddles are also forming and getting bigger as the panels go. So, oof! I forgot to put it on this one. Oof! My bad. This is why I do this. Part of why I do this, so I can pick up the goofs and make sure I don't do it again. So yeah, then we get to this scene here. I already talked about the artwork as far as him goes. Any resemblance to him is coincidental. We get to this point here. I'm really proud of the hero landing pose. I'm definitely gonna do more hero landings like this in the future with different characters and stuff. But I felt like this was a really big moment, especially with the lightning in the background. It's a very dramatic moment. I put a little more shading detail on like the highlights of the side of the armor because of the lightning and stuff like that. So I feel like the scene just really, really hits. The impact of it is I feel like it's really well felt. And yeah, like the splatter effect of the rain as well is something I wanted to get. I wanted to nail it. I wanted to look really like there's actual rain dropping on them. And so this little soft shading effect with the little dots popping up, I feel like it really conveys that well. The explosion in the sky as well, the red glow, the lights glaring out from, beaming out from every side. Thought it looked pretty good. But yeah, Scott Creed. And then that's about it. I used a different texture for the floor, the walls for the jail. I wanted to look a little more dirty, so I had like more obvious like spots on the floor instead of the usual background, which has like these bigger splotches that are harder to see. This is less subtle, and it makes it look a lot more filthy and run down and stuff. So I wanted to convey that for the prison. But I'm using a new strategy for the hair. I talked a little bit about this. I draw the colors and then I apply the outline tool, and it works so well. It makes drawing hair like this, like dreadlocks, so well. It makes it work so much better. I did this in a matter of like a minute, man. It was and this as well was about like a minute and a half. Like, it was just so quick. I'm like, oh, thank God, I found a way to do this better. Oh man, because drawing LeJohn's individual dreadlocks was a task in itself. Imagine drawing this many dreadlocks that are even longer. Like, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. So I'm glad I found this faster way to do it. But yeah, I mean, with all that being said, that's basically it as far as Volume 5 goes. I've talked about the story elements. I've talked about the recap of how far V has come and her journey of becoming a hero, a real hero. And how death metal is a foil to her, how he reflects her a little bit in a negative light, and how Night Vision is somewhere in between, somewhere kind of in between. He's obviously more on the side of V, but he's also not giving in to, or he is giving in to the revenge, to the temptation of revenge and stuff. So he's got his own journey to go through. So there's a lot of things going on right now with all the different players in the story. And I'm really excited to get you some more stuff. So if you're looking forward to Volume 6, stay tuned. Next year it's coming out. I'm really excited to see what you guys think. It's going to be action-packed. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And I know you're going to enjoy it. So thanks for watching this stream. My throat's starting to hurt from talking so much today. I had a party at work, and I've been talking all day. But, yeah, for real, thanks so much for watching. And until next time.